All right, well, I'm with John, and we're going to just do an orientation of what is CBTE and what's this journey of discipleship that you're on. So I'm going to ask you just a question. What do you know about CBTE as a philosophy of education? And if you don't know anything, that's fine. I don't expect that you would.
Uh, yeah, I don't think I do know anything.
Okay. So CBTE stands for Competency-Based Theological Education.
Okay.
It's a philosophy, and we measure competence more than uh, if you think of traditional school, where do traditional schools generally focus? Well, you're going to
On
homeschool.
grades.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a grade, and it's usually focused on what do you know? And how
Hmm.
well can you get what's in your head on a piece of paper or on a screen or whatever it happens to be. And so this one, we're measuring competency, and we want you, as you're in your context, to figure out how is what you're learning here holistically, right? Head, heart, and hands. So the things you know are the head, your heart are just your willingness to submit to the Lord and to see the fruit of the Spirit developed in you, to see Christ likeness develop. And then hands is how do you actually use that in your context. So
Mm.
the desire is that holistically you'll be able to take these things and apply them, whether it's in your job at Good Shepherd or your, I don't know if you call it the worship part of volunteer aspect, but that
Hmm.
whole, your whole package of who you are and where God has you right now.
Yeah.
But you just keep always be thinking, how does this apply? How does this apply? And I think the best way I can picture this is if you take two circles, and if the circle on this hand is your just your life in general, and
Hmm.
this one is your school life, that you want those two to be maximally overlapped. The better you can
Okay.
overlap those two worlds, then you don't have a school life or a life outside of school and a school life, but really those two are integrated. And it should work because we're not doing math. And if you're not if you're not prone to doing math in your job, then I mean, what's math for? So, but it's they're dealing with issues of character, dealing with issues of biblical truth, who God is, how He lives Himself out through you, and all that. Um, so that's the approach. Then when we measure your competency or your proficiency in an area, you have three different people looking at that, and you're looking at that yourself, right? So you're going to have three mentors. Do you know anything about those three mentors?
Yeah, Josh Putnam has told me a little bit about him.
Okay, what do you know about them?
Um, One of them is a life mentor, one of them is a vocational, and one of them is a academic, I believe.
Yeah, so academic or faculty mentors. So myself and Bob will be your faculty mentors, and
Okay.
then Josh will come in, and he also is going to be one. Not Josh
Hmm.
Putnam, but the other Josh, Josh Wilder.
Okay.
Um, and then have you selected a life and a vocational mentor?
Um, I'm still kind of thinking through that. I know Putnam's going to be one of them, but I can't decide which one of the two.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the good thing about Josh is, regardless of which one you choose him to be, he
Hmm.
knows the program and he knows how it works in terms of
Yeah.
integrating things into his own ministry and then really seeing transformation, both in
Yeah.
his ministry and his personal life. So, well, that's good. All right. So just keep that in mind. And, if the harder one is, well, whoever the harder one is, if that one happens to be a life mentor and you find that, then Josh can move to the
Hmm.
vocational and vice versa. So,
Yeah.
all right. And then, so there's proficiency. We measure that through a master assessment, which we'll talk about later.
Okay.
But you are the one who's in charge of your education and your
Okay.
development. It's my role and Bob's role and all your mentors' roles just to come alongside you and to help you in this journey of discipleship. And that's what we call it, a journey of discipleship.
Okay.
You just happen at the end of that journey of discipleship, you'll end up getting two degrees. You'll get a bachelor's degree and you'll get a master's degree. But when you come in, the way Kairos looks at you, you are a master's student, and the bachelor's degree comes in, just sort of comes along for the ride. There's
Mm.
definitely a lot of extra work, which we'll talk about this morning. But at the end of that, you will have two degrees, and they'll be accredited by the same accreditation of any seminary in the U.S. So
Okay.
That part's very positive. Um, okay, well, there's a lot of new vocabulary, is just part of what you have to learn. And then
Mm-hmm.
there has to be a paradigm shift because I know you were homeschooled, but even within homeschooling, it follows more of the traditional approach, probably maybe more of a hybrid. But I want to make sure you are clear on the actual vocabulary.
Okay.
So I'm going to introduce you to certain things, and then that has vocabulary that goes along with it. All right, to graduate, you will need, so I'm going to share my screen here. To graduate, you'll need to complete 7 character outcomes. So let me know if you can see this. Can you see that, John?
Yeah.
Okay. I sent you all these documents,
Mm-hmm.
and so you have, and I would encourage you to put them in a folder, Kairos folder, or however you want to label it. This says
Okay.
8 character outcomes, and there's really 7 you need to graduate, and an eighth which is optional. If you wanted to specialize in something, you could put it in there. So if you
Okay.
wanted to do children's ministry, or I mean, worship could be one, or the issue of church planting.
Mm.
So, but let me go through those. So, a character outcome is the broad umbrella which everything you're going to learn fits under. When you finish the 7 character outcomes, you'll actually have graduated because it has
Okay.
both the BA side and the MA side underneath.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So, the first character outcome then is listed here, maturing disciple maker. And then you have 3 competencies within that character outcome. So every character outcome of the 7 that you are required to do, each of those has 3 competencies. And the competencies are what we're looking for to say, are these developed in you so that you can graduate?
Mm.
The way we came up with all these competencies, it was over a 2 year period. We did it we got people from Africa, South America, Asia, and North America, and we got us all together over a 2 year period, and we began to work, really reverse engineer and say, what's the ideal graduate? What would they look like? And then we reverse engineered it and came up with these competencies.
Mm.
Uh, so you can see maturing disciple maker. And it's got 3 competencies: spiritual formation, spiritual multiplication, and then spiritual impact in society. And then Kairos has its own titles. We had to fit within the Kairos system. So that's their title, but we will be using our title, Maturing Disciple Maker.
Okay.
Okay, that one's more, so if you want to just think about this one, spiritual formation is, we're starting with a thing called the life map and connecting that to your identity in Christ. That's just sometimes when we're involved with people and in ministry, our worst enemy is us and our history and things that they just get in the way of what God wants to do in us or through us. And so
Mm.
we want to start there in making sure we have clarity as to who are we right now and where is God taking us in this journey. And so that's the first part of spiritual formation. And then the second part has to do with just really journaling and trying some different spiritual disciplines and
Mm.
helping you to see which one of those things or a combination of those things help you to draw closer to Christ. And then spiritual impact in society is really just having the right frame of thinking. All of that makes up the character outcome called maturing disciple maker. And so I won't go through all of these in detail, but that's
Okay.
how it works itself out. Then you have the next one's biblically rooted disciple. This is the beefiest one. Right now, we are currently in this one, and we're in competency number 1.
Okay.
The next one we'll do when we finish all that and you take your master assessment, you'll go into a biblically rooted disciple. And this is where you really you can think of this is the equipping one. This is where will be equipped to really understand the full picture of the Bible, but also how to go deep in a single book. And then you'll also learn more about how do you go from scripture to actually solving a problem. So if you have a problem out here you're trying to solve, well, how do you create doctrinal statements that will begin to help you solve that problem?
Okay.
And then the last part of that is worldview, because you're getting the first 2 competencies are going to develop within you a biblical worldview, but we all live in a world where people don't, obviously, especially in the Northwest, they don't have we don't share a worldview with them, but we really
Mm.
need to understand their worldview to be able to enter into meaningful conversations with them. So that's your biblically rooted disciple. And then you have a theologically relevant Christian thinker. And this is, you can see there, the primary thing here is systematic theology. Within the BA side, you're going to have these two also doing research and thinking. That's always going to be required. Research will be in a MA program. But in this one, we'll be looking at, in the systematic theology, you'll be looking at four major doctrines: the doctrine of God the Father, of the Son, those are two, and then you're going to look at man as the image of God, and then the last one will be looking at creation, the doctrine of creation. We also have the Holy Spirit's in there, but we do that in number 2.
Gotcha.
And then you move from that into a historically aware biblical leader, and this is where we look at what is biblical leadership all about, and then what can we learn from history in terms of church history from people who have done it right and people who haven't, and then lastly, what is ethical leadership in terms of a historically aware biblical leader. So that's character outcome 4. And then 5 is we live in a more and more multicultural world. So we want to be able to enter into good communication with people from another culture. So the competencies here are intercultural studies, cross-cultural disciple making, and really communication. And one of the things that you, in your role at Good Shepherd as a worship leader, you have to deal with multi-generational audience, and how do you communicate well to each member of that audience as you're leading them in worship. And so you can think of it more in that context. I don't know if God is going to call you overseas or if people from overseas will intersect with your life, but this will help you to be able to deal with that.
Okay.
The next part is healthy team contributor. And this is just helping you to what's authentic community, what's interpersonal relationships, and how do you develop those and live in those. This is really going to focus on church and family. And then also there's going to be an element in terms of healthy teams of coaching. How do you coach? Use a coach approach to help develop people. And then the last part is the consider a community member. This was, I know the last time you came or when we were together on Monday, if you recall when we started, this is where we actually started. They created a, what do you call that? Shoot, I'm forgetting the word. They had a list of things that this is going to mark what they are as a learning community. And so they've already begun that process, and I think you have that document. You can go through and look at it.
Okay.
And then they created an assessment tool. We begin with that because you're going to be working together as a community, and as a result, you need to be able to function well as a community, because there's a lot of shared things that you'll do as you go through it. And we always are going to be in some kind of community or team. And so learning how to navigate that well is really important. So that we did the first part of this one. There's 3 parts to the character outcome 7. We did the very first part. After character outcome 3, we'll do the second part. And then at the end of the program, we'll do the third part. And then I said again, this last one, vocationally competent professional, that is optional. Okay?
Okay.
And then you're going to see another one down here, and all this is exact same thing except for it's thrown in starting well, because that's required by Kairos University since you're a student of them, and at the very end you'll have one called continuing well. So when you do starting well and you do all 7 character outcomes and all the things that are underneath that and continuing well, you'll have graduated.
Okay.
All right. So any thoughts or questions on that?
So as we're doing the first one, we're also doing sections from the 7th one. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so the 7th one, the first thing they did when we got together is they created a covenant. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay.
And the covenant is just you're covenanting with each other as a learning community. How are we going to function? Right? So one of the things that they wanted, that it's going to be safe, that you can share things that you want to share, and people aren't going to ridicule you on those issues or share it with somebody else.
Yeah.
What's in the group stays in the group, that kind of thing. So that's what I would encourage you between now and when we get together on Monday is look at that covenant
Mm-hmm.
because you want to be able to have input into that to say, yeah, well, I'm a part of this learning community, so I noticed that for me, this would be an important point. So it could be a major heading, or it could be a sub point that maybe they didn't include, but it's really important to you. And that next week we'll have you bring that up and be able to integrate that into the covenant.
Okay.
All right. So that part is just more establishing how you will work together.
Mm-hmm.
Kairos does it a little differently. They do individual students with their mentor team. They don't have any kind of learning communities, and so they have multiple times, 2 or 3 times a year that they get together. We don't
Mm-hmm.
need to do that. We get together on a weekly basis, and so we approach that character outcome a little bit differently. But that's a great question. Anything else?
Nothing comes to mind.
Okay, so you have character outcomes. Under character outcomes, you have competencies. Every character outcome has 3 competencies. Those competencies then have what we call learning experiences, and you'll see what that means associated with them in just a minute.
Okay.
And that's the kind of stuff that you're going to say, oh, I have to accomplish this or I have to do this. Those are called the learning experiences. It just fleshes out those competencies.
Okay.
All right, well, if that part's clear, let me move to the next document that you'll be very helpful. One of the things that is both, well, let me just share the document, and then I'll explain. There's one thing you have to be really careful with about this document, but overall it's super helpful. So again, John, let me know when you see that.
See it.
Okay. This is called your BA or your Bachelor of Arts and Master of Arts degree program flow. This has everything that you need to know and that you're responsible for. So if you go to a school, you get a syllabus, this is your syllabus. The only thing it doesn't have is any kind of dates, but it'll have everything that you're responsible to do inside of this. The first number of pages, several pages, are going to be explanatory. So again, we said that they're starting well. Then you have 20 BA outcomes that are required. And then you have your 7 MA character outcomes that are required. And that's what we just went through on that other visual.
Okay.
And then you have continuing well. When you finish all of these, you have finished.
Okay.
Okay? Then what's interesting is if you look here, this says you have 20 BA outcomes, but this one says how many?
15.
15. So you got to say, well, what happened to 5 of those are now missing? And
Mm-hmm.
that's because 5 of these can count over here on the MA side. That when you do the MA work, it satisfies 5 of those on the bachelor's side.
Okay.
So in reality, you have 15 BA outcomes that you will actually do.
Mm.
The other 5 they're integrated into these 7 MA outcomes, and that way you still accomplish them all. But Kairos allows 5 of those to be picked up here, and so we've done that. So
Okay.
then if you look down here, that's what this is explaining. That there's a BA one called Biblical Literacy, but that's completed in this MA one. Then there's one
Gotcha.
called Contextual Projects, and that's completed here, and so forth.
Okay.
So if you're wondering, just in a very broad sense, we already went through over these 7, but now if you're looking at what are these bachelor ones that I'm going to do, well, they're all listed right here. Knowing yourself, Christian spirituality, personal initiative, and you just go through that whole thing. Some of these, for example, life skills, this one is very basic. It's you may already have accomplished all those, and if you have, because it's competency based, then really all you have to do is be able to show that you have completed that, and you can get credit for it.
Okay.
This is like keeping a personal schedule. Excuse me. You know how to make a meal, you know how to do good nutrition. They do this because many of the people who enter into the program are very young. I mean, they may be right out of school to
Mm.
get their bachelor's degree, so they could be 18, and they may have been living in home, and they really have never had to worry about any of these kind of things. They don't do their laundry or any of that. So, but that's where if you are already incompetent in an area, we don't make you do that.
Mm,
The whole point of the program is this competency based. Okay.
gotcha.
All right. So that is in a broad sense of everything you're going to be required for. This will help you to understand onboarding and how do you get on. And so here's onboarding mentors, students, learning community members, and so all of this you can just read through this.
Okay.
Um, Here again is helping just define terms. Josh Putnam obviously will be very familiar with this, but whoever your second mentor is going to be, you will want to make sure make sure both of them have this because this is different than when Josh went through the program.
Okay.
Um, but he'll understand all the vocabulary and all that. But the other
Mm,
person, for them to have this, they can start learning about the vocabulary.
gotcha. Okay.
And part of that, John, is going to be your responsibility to help them learn that. As you're learning it, you just turn around and teach them.
Okay.
All right, then this will give you a more detailed look at the curriculum. And really, all I want to point out here is when you complete a BA, they call them outcomes, then you immediately do a master assessment, right? So when we were talking with the group on Monday, and you're reading knowing, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Pages, that's part of this knowing yourself. And so when you complete that and you send in we complete our going through the book together in class, and then you also complete the reflection paper.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get that done this week, that would be great. Because then what will happen is when we get together on next Monday, we can do master assessments.
Okay.
All right. And then you'll learn about what a master assessment. But every time you finish a BA outcome, you immediately do a master assessment.
Gotcha. Okay.
The MA is a little different. You're going to have these things that are called learning experiences. That's what LE stands for. And so in the first character outcome, you have 4 LEs. On the 4th LE in that outcome is when you do the master assessment. So you can see that here. Here's CO1. Here's the first one is B. The second one is D. The third one is F. And notice that there's no red master assessment word after that. But when you do the 4th one, then you'll have completed all the 4 LEs for that character outcome, and then you'll do a master assessment. When you
Mm,
do this master assessment, and I know this is a lot of information, but hang in there. When you do this master assessment, you'll have your whole mentor team together. That'll be
mm,
all your mentors. When you
okay.
do your BA master assessment, you don't need to have your entire mentor team present. Your faculty mentor needs to be present for sure.
Okay.
They'll have already reviewed your work. They'll have given it back to you. If they ask you to make any changes, you'll have made those changes. They'll look at it again, and once both you and I are satisfied, then you're good to go. You take the master assessment. But you'll be the one who initiates that. You'll say,
Okay.
hey, Carl, I think I'm ready for a master assessment. And I'll say, oh, yeah, based on what I've looked at your work and based on our discussions within class, I know you're good to go. You have proficiency in that area. Let's have you do the master assessment. All right?
Okay.
All right, so this is just going to give you an overview. That's what this is all about. So you can go through all those things again. Then here's the general sequencing. And again, I'll just let you read all that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then this is once you're actually accepted, Kairos is going to send you a link to Starting Well. And really, all Starting Well is doing is orienting you to what is CBTE, Competency Based Theological Education.
Okay.
So you're getting that now. So when you go through that, they're going to have some extra things for you to do. There's maybe some pretty extensive reading that you may not need to do quite in depth as that they're asking because our approach is different, and you'll pick a lot of that up with us.
Okay.
But once you're accepted, they'll give you this link, and then you just go on and you start that. When you do finish this, Starting Well, you will have a master assessment. And you can see that here, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it says 1 of 9, right? So you've got 7 character outcomes. Each one of those has a master assessment. So that's 7. Then you have Starting Well and Continuing Well. Each of those has a master assessment. So that's a total of 9.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. All right, then what happens is you then start. We already started this. This is why it's going to be out of sequence. But character outcome 7 is where we started to formulate that covenant and an assessment tool. All right. You missed that part of it, but you can still pick it up by just going through the document they created and adding your input there.
Okay.
Okay. So this is part 1 of 3. So there's no master assessment till you get to the last part.
Gotcha.
Okay. Then finally, you get into this first character outcome, maturing disciple maker. We are in this part right now, knowing yourself. So right at the start, you came in at a good time. So you've already started reading Jerry Bridges' Who Am I?
Mm-hmm.
You'll reflect and write a reflection paper. And a reflection paper isn't, I don't need to know what the book is talking about, but as you read what the book was talking about, what kind of things stood out and why.
Mm.
As you reflect, say, oh, okay, this is what it means for me to be in Christ. And that is really important because that helps me to know when I lead worship or when I lead the janitorial team, whatever it happens to be, then I'm going to view people in a very specific way. And I realize, therefore, I need to train them or respond to them in a way that really honors who they are also as being in Christ.
Mm.
Okay. So
Okay.
that's what a reflection paper is.
Okay.
Then you'll meet with, we've already been doing this, Bob and I, so you won't need to meet with us in a separate time. But if you're with Putnam, then you can just say, hey, we've been reading Jerry Bridges' book. He did not do the BA side, so he will not have read this book. He
Mm.
doesn't need to read the book. If he wants to read it, he's more than welcome to. But you can just share with him the things that you learned from that.
Okay.
All right? And then if you're able to get all that done by Monday, then we will do a collective master assessment. If not, that's fine. We can pick it up later. But if you can, that would be great.
Okay.
Right? And then the next thing, and they've already started this. When Bob did this, he started with a life map. But what I more want you to see is generally we just go in sequence. And the fact that these two are tied together, do you see that? They're in one box.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that means they're distinct from this set. Now, this is also a set, right? Christian
Mm.
spirituality and reflections on your spiritual journey. These are to be done in tandem. So once you finish Christian spirituality, that's preparing you for the MA side. Just as
Okay.
reading Jerry Bridges' book is preparing you for your identity in Christ, that's why those are linked. So you want to do the BA side first, complete that, do your master assessment, then you move into the MA side. Now, because you're working as a learning community, you'll be doing that together.
Okay.
All right. And so a life map, I will send you a link on what a life map is. Bob went through some of that. You were not there for that. But we will be talking about some of this on Monday. But I'll send you a YouTube link where I go through what is a life map. And I give you really an overview of my own life map to get you thinking about what that's all about.
Okay.
Okay. But what I want you to see here is everything you're responsible for is in the work to complete column.
Okay.
So if you're ever wondering, okay, well, I'm doing knowing yourself. Well, what do I need to do? Well, it's all right here. This is the work you need to complete. And
Okay.
now, this is what I was alluding to earlier. This is a super helpful document because it has everything in it. It's definitely a roadmap and it's very detailed. The
Hmm.
danger here is you don't get into just a check off mode. The point isn't to check these off. These are supposed to help develop competency or proficiency in your life, in the spiritual journey of discipleship to make you more like Christ. So you have to fight the tendency, and I don't know you well enough to know if you're a doer, but if you are, then you have to fight the tendency. Though I'm going to be checking things off, I really need to be asking, is that helping me become more like Jesus? And is that advancing what God wants to do through me to build his kingdom? Because that's what it's about. Are you there, John? Because I'm not sure if you're frozen. Are you hearing me? We may have lost you. So I'm going to go out here for just a second. John, are you there? Okay, I'm going to pause this. Well, welcome back.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. That happens. I totally get it. Okay, so I'm going to jump back into that document
Okay.
and draw your attention to a few other things. So that's in terms of the structure of the document. You'll see that things are linked. Okay, the is often will precede the MA, and they're linked if they're in the same box. All right.
Hmm.
Then what you're going to notice, you see there's this special notes thing, which you do want to pay attention to because if you look here, there's going to be part of what's going to happen in CO2 is you're going to do this thing called a graphic organizer of the entire Bible. So we want you to read actually the entire Bible. That may be a normal part of your life. You may have done it multiple times, or you may not have. But you want to begin to get a working knowledge of the entire Bible. That's what this is all about. So my encouragement to you right now is if you've not done that, start picking up the books that maybe you've not really looked at. Um, and if you have been doing that, then just continue what you're doing. Because
Okay.
by the time we get there, then you'll have actually read through the Bible. That's the idea. And I would start with the narrative elements of the Bible. So that would be Genesis through like Ruth. And then you got all these prophets and minor prophets, right? So you don't have to worry about, you can look at those, get an overview if you want to run that through AI. And then you're going to have the New Testament and read the four Gospels, read Acts, and then read through the epistles and Revelation. All right. But if
Okay.
you do that now, and that's a normal part of your thing, by the time we get there, you'll have done that. And so we're trying to make sure that you don't get there, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I got to start. It's just going to take a while.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. The second thing is when you do we're still within competency one, but if you look down here, you're going to do a spiritual journal. It's a 3 month spiritual journal. So if you start that now, by the time when 3 months are done, you'll have completed that. And so my thought is it'll take us about that probably to work through this entire character outcome. And so we'd like you to start that now. All right.
Okay.
And all that is honestly, the way to think about that is it's a time for you to be brutally honest with God. So what I would recommend is whether you do it on your computer or in a notebook, have in your mind that nobody will ever see this. Okay.
Okay.
And that when you're done, destroy it so that nobody can ever see it or whatever. Because we want you to be really honest. You
Hmm.
don't ever have to share what you're actually writing in your journal with any of your mentors. They are just going to say, well, how is that going? And you say it's
Hmm.
going great, or yeah, I'm not, that's really hard for me to be that brutally honest with God. But
Hmm.
whatever it is, you can't write for a person, because if you write and somebody else is going to look at it, you tend to write for that person.
Hmm.
And then you're not being honest. And really, the point of this is that you can be really honest before God and just really, if you got questions, you got thoughts, or crazy thoughts that you want to ask, God already knows the crazy thoughts. It's not like you can't read your mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
That way, it's just for you to say, hey, Lord, this is what's going on in my heart. This is what's going on with me as a person. These are the things I'm doing well. These are the things I'm not doing well. And over those 3 months, we want you to also try some different spiritual disciplines. And that relates, you'll see here, to the next character outcome. Here you'll read Mathis' book. He's with Piper's Church on habits of grace, spiritual disciplines. And you'll just say, okay, well, I've never really done spiritual disciplines. Or maybe I practice fasting once a week, or I do personal retreats, or whatever they happen to be. We want you to try different things to say, what's going to help me draw close to Christ?
Okay.
All right. So that is how this is laid out, right? And then again, when you finish this one, map this book, and you do all the stuff that's required there, you'll do a master assessment. And then you'll have this aspect, which is moving into the next LE, and that's writing a spiritual journal, which you'll have already started, hopefully, which you can start today for whatever that's going to look like for you. And then you'll go again here. Here's personal initiative. You're going to learn you're going to read Master Plan of Evangelism. You're going to learn how to share your faith by memorizing a gospel tool of your choice, and then begin to think, how can I integrate that? Even, John, you're in a very unique position if you think about when you're leading worship. You have a very mixed audience. You have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of Christians, but you've got some non-Christians there. And how can you begin to weave the gospel message into those bridges between one song and another song, where you're actually able to share the gospel with a non-believer? And so
Mm-hmm.
I would be thinking along those things, whether it's in the main service or if it's with young adults or high school, wherever God's going to have you doing all that. You
Yeah.
have a very strong platform. I think it was Luther said, I'd rather sing one song than than preach 1,000 sermons."
Mm.
So you're in a very powerful position if it's leveraged and used properly. All right. And so
Yeah.
this will help you to just make sure you're clear on what is the gospel and then have a plan on how to share it. And then this is going to build off of that and you're actually going to come up with a plan. All right. So, and all that stuff listed. But again, this is the third of four learning experiences on the master side. So, still no master assessment. You do have one for the personal initiative side. Okay, so you've already completed three master assessments for the BA stuff and none for the MA, even though you've done three distinct LEs. But now you're going to come
Mm-hmm.
to the very last one. And again, you have another BA side, that's vocation. So you'll do that, do another master assessment, then you come to the very last MA or Master of Arts learning experience. And when you finish that, you'll have finished all four of the Master of Arts learning experiences. Then you're going to do a master assessment. All right.
Okay.
So you're just going to have to get used to that rhythm. Anytime I finish a BA one, I can immediately do a master assessment. When
Mm-hmm.
I do an LE, there may not be a master assessment unless it's the last one in that character outcome.
Right. Okay.
All right. And that's the way this document flows. So I'm not going to spend any more time on that, but you can look, and I'd encourage you to look through that. We are in character outcome one, LE number one, the BA side. So you're right at the very beginning, which is great. We've had other people come in later, and it's very doable, but they're coming in at a different place, and so they've missed some of the early parts. But you haven't missed
Mm-hmm.
any of that. So, all right.
Okay.
Any questions on that document? That's the BAMA flow.
Um, Before I lost Wi-Fi, you were saying something about not getting into like a checklist mentality.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Yes, because when you do that flow, because it has every assignment that's due, you will check that, right, to make sure that you've covered everything.
Right.
If I'm a very much a doer, and as a result, I could get into, oh, I just want to accomplish all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the point of those things are to help build proficiency and to help move you towards loving Jesus more and applying those things in your context for impact.
Okay.
It's part of your journey of discipleship. And so that's the tension there because when you don't have that, then students are always saying, well, what do I do? What's next? And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't tell you everything. But if I put it here, then you have it. But then the danger is that becomes a checklist.
Mm.
So you just have to guard your heart in that area.
Okay.
So, all right. Any other questions? That was great that you brought that back up. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Can't think of anything.
Okay. Yeah, and again, I don't expect. I mean, it's going to just take time. I'll put this recording in our shared drive, which
Okay.
I've already got a folder for you,
Okay.
and
Cool.
that way it'll be available to you, but it'll also be available to the other students because they may have missed some of this also.
Okay.
All right. Okay. The next thing I want to introduce is a document, and this one is, I think, I just sent these to you. You're going to have 7 journey logs. So let me go ahead and share. There we go. My screen again. And again, let me know when you can see that, John.
I can see it.
Okay. This is called your journey log. And so you can see right up here, character outcome 1, maturing disciple maker. That's our title for this. KU's is Christian spirituality. You have this so you can put your own name and you can link to your drive, the shared
Okay.
drive for your mentors, and they can get there very easy. And then here's your mentors' names, and then they'll have they have ability to see all your work. This first part, if you remember when we looked at CO1, character outcome number one, we said there were four BA components: knowing
Mm-hmm.
yourself, Christian spirituality, personal initiative, vocation. When you are when your work is completed, you just do your drop down menu, and then you say either it's in progress or yes. It's just a way for Bob and I or any one of your mentors to look at a moment's notice and say, oh, John's completed all of his BA master assessments. Or he did, I don't know why he did number 1, 3, and 4, but he didn't do 2. And then let's figure out why that one wasn't done.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
And then this also has your 4 learning experiences for the MA side, but you only do one master assessment for this one, right? Even though you're going to have
Right.
different boxes, just fill in one of these boxes.
Okay.
All right. So that's the first tab, and you can see there's tabs down here. And the second tab is here, and this is where, again, you're going to have these character outcomes, and these are the proficiencies. The way you can think about a proficiency here, and then in the next tab, you're going to have what are called indicators. Sorry, I'm going to go all the way to the top. And with these indicators, here we go, right here, they are the other side of the proficiency. So if we look at the proficiency, you can think of the proficiency as this is what you're going to learn. You're looking forward to saying, this is what I'm going to learn. The indicator, when you get to the indicator, you're looking back. This is what I learned.
Mm.
So if you're
Okay.
trying to figure out, okay, well, what exactly, when I do knowing yourself, what are they after? Well, these are the proficiencies you want to see developed in you. Discover and grow in your understanding of your gifts and abilities and your personality. Consider ways in which you can enhance and strengthen or minimize your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. How can I capitalize on the things I'm good at, and how can I be careful about the things I'm not?
Mm.
Reflect on your contribution to the kingdom of God. And so these are the things you can say, oh, okay, this is where knowing yourself is taking me. All right? And then
Okay.
when you actually get to this part, then when we do the master assessment, this is what we're measuring. Demonstrates a growing understanding of your gifts, abilities, and personality. It mirrors the proficiencies, but it's looking back. It's not looking forward.
Mm.
Is that
Okay.
clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So then when we do your master assessment, this is one of the 3 things that we're assessing are these indicators. Have you accomplished this? Have you accomplished this? And have you accomplished this?
Mm.
Okay, so that's one of the 3. The second of the 3 is your actual work. And so your time in class and your reflection paper and all of that, we see your work, and so we know how you're doing in terms of how you're interacting holistically with that, right? Head, heart, and hands. Um, so the indicators is 1, the work you do is 2, and if we go back to the second tab, the other part, and this is the most difficult part, honestly, but this is the part where you can customize what you're learning. And this is how you define mastery. And I'm going to go off the screen here real quick. When you're defining mastery, what you're saying is mastery for you. Because you're coming in with a certain set of experiences and a certain length of time that you've known Christ and walked with Him. And other people, I mean, you've got people who are much older in our cohort, and then you even have a person who's younger than you in our cohort.
Mm.
And so there's quite a gap in those things. And so you're not measuring yourself against anybody in that cohort or in
Mm.
the learning community. All you're wanting to say is in this one where we're looking at being a mature disciple maker, what do I want to get out of that? Maybe that's not listed in this, and that's unique to you. And so if you're a brand new Christian, it may mean I just need to, on the gospel part, I just need to learn a gospel presentation. I've never, ever learned one. And that's great. Somebody else may have been doing ministry for 20 years. They're like, man, not only have I done it and memorized multiple times, I've also taught it. So they're thinking, well, I want to start a ministry within our church of going out on Tuesday nights to this area of town and sharing Christ with people. So I'm going
Mm.
to organize them. I'm going to equip them. But that's how they're defining mastery, whereas this person is defining mastery just by memorizing a gospel tool. So you can
Mm-hmm.
see that they're really different.
Yeah.
That's when they do the master assessment, this person's being measured on, did you accomplish this? And
Mm-hmm.
this one's being measured on, did you accomplish this? It's not, I'm comparing you to him or her and you fail. That has nothing to do with it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
about you, it's your education, and we want you to say, what is mastery going to look like for me? All right.
Mm.
So
Okay.
then what I want to do is within that same document, we've looked at the first three tabs. And again, tell me when you can see this.
Got it.
Okay. Then this tab is the one, it's called your your mentor meeting log. And this one you'll fill out after every mentor meeting.
Okay.
So when we met on Monday, you would put Monday's date. You would say type of meeting. I'll get this so it wraps around all this later. But then you'd say the type of meeting was our learning community. You just say LC meeting, learning community meeting.
Okay.
Mentors who are present, and you can say Bob Maddox, Carl Schumacher, and Josh Wilder. And then what did you got? What did we discuss? You know, just a quick title. You know, that we discussed. Who am I? Jerry Bridges' book, Who Am I? Meeting
Okay.
summary, and then summarize what happened in the meeting for you. You know, when we went through 6 chapters, and this stood out to me, and that would be, I'm
Mm.
sorry, student comments. But the meeting summary is we just covered 6 chapters of Who Am I? Students' comments. This was most meaningful to me, and if the mentor wants to make a comment, they can do that here. This document is very helpful for your mentor team because I'm not going to be with you when you're with Josh or with your other mentor, but I can
Mm.
see what you guys have discussed and I can get a feel for where you're at with them.
Okay.
Okay. And you should be meeting with each of them every other week, and you'll meet with us every week. And so in a month, you'll have met with them twice, and you'll have met with us 4 times. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
And all those will be recorded here. And the last thing is, it's your responsibility. So I would always take the last 5 minutes, pull this out, and write write your stuff down, and then just say, "Do you have any comments you want to add?" And hand the computer to them, and let them type
Mm.
out whatever comments they want.
Gotcha.
Or if they say, "Hey, John, here's what I want to. Could you write this?" Then you write it, whatever. But if you give it to them or you write it, then when they walk out of that room, that's done. You don't
Gotcha.
have to try
Okay.
to figure it out later. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I need to keep sharing that. Then, so that's the mentor meeting log. And then the next tab is your your post outcome evaluations. And again, here are these are exact same indicators that were on tab number 3. Okay. And now you
Mm.
can evaluate yourself. Well, how did I do in this area? And you're going to notice there's a 0 and a 0 here because these two have to do with content. There's a 0 here. That's because this one has to do with character. So you're since this one doesn't do with character or craft, then you're really only evaluating the content side, right? And you're going to
Mm.
evaluate either from 1 to 4, and I'll explain more about what those mean. Okay,
Okay.
all right. And then you're going to get a score, and you're going to do that for all of these. And then when you walk into the master assessment, this will have a cumulative score that gets transferred over so that you're not just guessing when you do your self evaluation.
Mm.
All right. So let me. How do I do this? All right. So that's the post outcome evaluations tab. Then you actually have your master assessment tab here. All right. And that's what this is about. I'm going to share it in a different looking document, but you're going to have one of these for yourself, and then you're going to have one for your mentor team. You're going to have them for the BA, so that's the BA for the student, the BA for the mentor, and then you're going to have the same thing for your MA, and then for your mentors, and that's it. So everything you need, all these main documents are in that journey log.
Okay.
All right. It's a one-stop place. It was really difficult when we didn't have that, especially for
Mm-hmm.
the mentors who are not really familiar with this process, trying to figure out where everything is. And so one of the students actually created that in our very first cohort in Latin America.
Oh,
Super
wow.
helpful. And then we've just modified it as we've learned more. All right, then the last thing I want to share with you in terms of documents is the master assessment. But before we do that, do you have any questions up to this point? And again, I realize you're getting the fire hydrant right now, but I just want to more introduce the documents and then you go through them. Are you having a heart attack?
No, no.
My heart, I've got a weak heart. You're killing me. All right. Any questions on the workflow document or on the journey log?
Hmm. I don't think so.
Okay. Generally, what happens is you can look at that before we start a new one, and then at the end you can do your defined mastery because sometimes it's very hard to define mastery because you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be included there. And as you get towards the end, you can say, "Oh, you know what? I think this would be really helpful out of all these LEs that we've been doing. This is missing for me, and I really want to pick this up." Okay.
Okay. Can that just be something that I know I want to learn
Yeah,
and grow in?
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
that's related to that whole topic. And that's
Okay.
important to you for who you are and what you do.
Okay.
All right. All right. Let me introduce the last thing, which is this master assessment rubric. And this does not change for any of the character outcomes.
Got it.
Okay. And you can see that the way to understand this is you have your horizontal bar, you have advanced competency, competent, developing competency, and not competent. And then on your vertical one, you have content, character, and craft.
Okay.
And what's going to happen is you and your mentor team are each going to make an evaluation in each of these things. So you're gonna get one score for content. You're either going to be in a 3 or a 4, or we wouldn't have let you into the actual master assessment. You will not
Mm.
be in the 1 or a 2. So you would never evaluate yourself as a 2 or a 1 because otherwise you couldn't pass it. You have to have a 3 or 4 to pass. And
Okay.
so when you enter into the master assessment, you have already passed. That's not an issue. We've already looked at your work. We've already interacted over all of that stuff. You've initiated and say, "Hey, I want to actually do a master assessment." We say, "Great, John. I definitely have confidence and know that you have grown in the areas of proficiency in either a 3 or 4." All right.
Okay.
Then you're going to get a score for content. Content is always, what are the things I need to know? Character is in the area of fruit of the spirit, submission, Christ likeness. Am I growing in those areas?
Mm.
And then craft is, am I using the things that I'm learning?
Mm.
All right. And again, your craft can be in your personal life. It can be in your work with the janitorial crew. Lance spent a lot of time focusing on that and
Mm-hmm.
fleshed some things out there. It can be within the worship team. It can be with young adults. It can be in any area that's important to you and that you have some kind of a ministry investment and you want to see that progress.
Okay.
All right. So if I were just to try to describe these really quickly, I would say that if you are not competent, what that means is you're just really learning about this area. And
Mm.
so you don't even know the vocabulary, you're just trying to figure it out. And really, this is where most people are when they enter this program on competency based theological education. And then what happens is it's a steep learning curve, but they learn pretty quickly the vocabulary and all of that. And then that moves them into this section, which is okay, now I'm starting to get, oh, okay, I know what a character outcome, I know what a learning experience is, I know what a master assessment is. When I use those terms, you now have familiarity, but you haven't really you're not using them on a regular basis.
Mm.
Then when you become competent, you know all the things you need to know, and you're actually able to use that in your life when you need to. And then 4 is not only are you doing that, but you can teach other people.
Mm.
Okay. And then the same as the area for character is that you can just read those in the categories, but always be thinking that when you're in a 3, that you're modeling the things, the character qualities that are part of that character outcome, and that this one is not only are you modeling them, but you could actually help other people to follow your example in that way. And then craft is you're learning the skills and the practices you need for that character outcome. And this one is not only are you learning them, but you can train other people and take them out and do the same thing with them.
Gotcha.
Okay? Then at the end of that, you get a score. And if you look down here, here's your competency rating. And you need a total of 9 points.
Okay.
And again, if you got a 3, a 3, and a 3, that's a 9. You can't have any 2s or you don't pass. So we don't. If you say, "Hey, I think I'm ready," and we say, "Well, you're still a 2 in this area,"
Mm.
we need you to continue to work on this to gain that proficiency. Once you get that, you're now a 3. Boom, you're in. So when you
Okay.
make a self-evaluation, you would put yourself in the 3 or 4 category for each of these. All right.
Okay.
Highest you can get is 12. The lowest you can get is 9. And that's what a master assessment is. You'll do this for each character outcome, and you'll also do it for starting well and for continuing well. When you finish all of those master assessments, both for the bachelor side and the master side, starting well and continuing well, you will have completed the program.
Okay.
And that is all the main documents.
Cool.
And I've sent you all of those, so you can look those over. So any questions about any of that?
I mean, I know you don't. I've only been to one meeting, but do you think I would be ready for the first master assessment?
Yeah, so what I would do is read the rest of the book. Maybe you read the first 6 chapters, read the rest, and then write your reflection paper. It's not a really involved one.
Okay.
And then I will, as soon as you write it and you either send me that paper because you haven't, oh, I need to show you. I'll get you, put it in here. Let me do this. Let me, I'm going to open up a tab here real quick. I'll show you where the shared drive is. We did. Oh, there are 2 other things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the shared drive, and I want to talk to you about Pathright.
Okay.
All right. So let me get to the shared drive. Oops. Yeah, there we go. All right. So, okay. Let me share my screen again. And John, have you used Google Docs and shared the Google Shared Drive much?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Then this won't be completely new, which is great. These are all my folders for the shared drive,
Okay.
and you guys have one, and yours is called, let's see here, where are you guys? Here you go. You are the Light Learning Community. That's the name they came up with.
Okay.
And it's an acronym, all right? So if you click on this, double click, right, then you're going to see you have mentors, things that your mentors can be aware of. So Josh and your other mentor, you can give them access to this. And I don't think there's anything yet. I will put a lot of things in there for them, resources that will help them. They'll have the flow there. They'll have your journey log. They'll have a rubric. They'll have all of that stuff that we've just gone through. That'll be in there for them.
Okay.
And then in terms of the students, all of a sudden there's everybody listed there. And John, you have a folder.
Okay.
Okay. And I will finish filling this out for you. But here's your journey log, and I'll put one in there. I'll drop all your journey logs in here. Every character outcome has its own journey log, so you'll get a journey log here, and then in your
Okay.
CO2 you'll have a different one. And I'll create a subfolder within this, and that's where you'll put your reflection paper.
Gotcha.
All
Okay.
right. Then what happens is anytime that you complete an assignment and you have it in the shared drive, just send me the link or send Bob the link. And then
Okay.
what we'll do is we can get on that link, and because it's a Google Doc, we can write all our comments.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime, the way I do it is I'll have all the comments on the side. You can make little comments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, I will have a summary of my thoughts on what you've done in red, and then I will end with you have completed this part of the learning experience, meaning you're done with it. You don't have any more changes you need to make. If I have questions over here, I'd like you to answer those questions, and if you make any changes, you can just add color, a different color, so I know where the changes are.
Mm, okay.
Okay. And then at the end, what happens is when I write that thing in red, I'll take a picture of it and I'll send you an immediate text with that, so you know that, oh, okay, it's been reviewed. Here's the comments. I can go in and look at it and make any changes I need to make, or I'm done and I don't have to make any changes.
Okay.
So that is the um, shared drive, and I still need to finish setting that up for you and then getting you access to that. And
Okay.
then let me share one more thing, and this is Pathwrite. Pathwrite is the learning management system. They call it an LMS. Oops. Sign in. Okay. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. It's loading. Okay. All right. So when you look here, I'm going to have a ton of these just because I've got all of them plus different schools and stuff that I'm working with. But the
Yeah.
main thing is you'll have what's called a learning experience. So if we go here, if you look at this, there's going to be always a title. This is for a different school. That's why it's East. This one's for Unilid. Um, and let's see. Let's get you down to a CO1. But you can see the character outcome is always listed, right? Here's CO6, CO4.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking for CO1. Here's CO7, right? That's the first part.
Right.
Um, but we're looking, and then you're in the 10.0 version. So anytime you're wondering what version you're in the 10.0 version, that's listed
Okay.
there. Um, and we're looking for CO1, so we still haven't found CO1 yet. Here's a CO1 maximizing your kingdom mechanics. So we're getting close. CO1, CO1, no one east. CO2, CO1, CO1. Here we go, boom. All right, now what you're going to see is whenever you do a BA side, there's no learning experience like this. All there is there will be somewhere you can go, but you already have all that information in your journey log. But we
Okay.
do have that information housed in a actual learning experience. But this learning experience is all the content side that we want you to know. It's the irreducible minimum. You can know a lot more outside of this, but this is what we want you to be conversant in. Right? So they're always set up the same way. You're going to have introducing this outcome. There's always 4 steps, and that'll work through that. We've already talked about some of these, right? Here's your proficiencies in this. You good? Johnny, you there?
Yeah. Sorry. I'm
Okay.
here.
Yeah, no worries. So here's your proficiencies, here's your indicators of those proficiencies, and here's your work required. We've looked at all that. And if you see here, all that's going to do is list the exact things that are in your workflow right here. That's just copied over. All right. So this will tell you, introduce you to the outcome, and then it'll give you an introduction to the actual product. or a project that you're going to be doing. And then you have, this is the content side, right? Here's making and using a life map for growth. It'll introduce you to some of the ideas that you want. There's a video for you to watch or something for you to read. So you're just going to tap on these. If we look at the value of a life map, you go here, you tap on it, and you will then just, it's got the whole content side. It's got some things for you to say, what do you think this proverb means? And you look at that and you write some thoughts into what that means. All these boxes do is they're orienting your mind to begin to think about this learning experience.
Okay.
So, and then this is the content side. And then you're going to notice at the top, we've got little dots. If you want to go to the next one, you can go here. And that is the difference between a timeline and a life map. And we talked about that 2 weeks ago. You weren't there, but if you read through this will help you to understand that. And
Okay.
then you do the next dot, and then this is how you actually make a life map. And we'll show you how to do that. Okay. And then we have a video which I will send you also about that. So that is really what the learning experience. This is what a learning experience is on Pathwright. It spells out all the content side for you. So any questions on that?
So is this where I would go to get the work done? Like, I know we already looked at the other document that lists everything I need to do, but is that where I would go to kind of check the boxes, so to speak, I guess?
No, what you're going to use, that's a great question. What you're going to do is you're going to use that to prepare to come to class.
Okay.
It'd be like, okay, we gave you Who Am I by Jerry Bridges. We say, hey, could you read this? When we get in class, we're going to discuss it. We're not going to read it, we're going to discuss it. It's the same thing. The expectation is you'll have gone through the learning experience. You'll have started to interact with all those kind of concepts. Then when we get together, we'll discuss those concepts and how they work themselves out.
Okay.
All right. The other side of that is, and so when doing a learning experience, so let me go ahead and share again. I'll just have to do a different learning experience. So here's one on conflict resolution, okay? Is, again, introducing the outcome, a roadmap, all those are standard, but then you start getting into the actual meat of it, right? Here's this, it's got 5 steps, so you have 5 things you're gonna read through. If, for example, you start looking at these and you start reading, you're like, oh, I totally am familiar with this, then you skip to the next one. I'm familiar with it, you skip to the next one. If you're not, then you want to read it in its entirety. You want to complete the whole thing. All right? And this will just move you through the process of understanding biblical conflict resolution. And then when you finish that, there's the next one, evaluating a Christian model for conflict resolution. Formulating a model. You'll come up with your own model, or you as a learning community will come up with a model that you can use to resolve conflict. All right?
Okay.
And within that, let me share another aspect of this, and that is when you look at this, that's the side where you get all the learning experiences, but there's another bit of information that's helpful for myself, for Bob, for your mentors. And so you have paths and people. On the people side, we can follow all your work, where you're at in your work within this. So, for example, let's see here. I'm gonna pick somebody I know who's pretty thorough on this. Where is she? Not too far. Well, let me just show you anybody then. Let's see here. Here's Lindy Grubbs. If we poke on her thing, then you're going to have her members are here, then subgroups that she may have, but she doesn't. And then if we poke here, we're going to have, here's all her activity. And so I can immediately see, here's all the learning experiences she has. I can see how far she's gone through those learning experiences. There's a blue bar that's here that
Mm,
and then I can also see how much time she spent. We get a weekly report on all of this, and so this allows us just to be able to track and for you to track where are you at
mm,
in the learning experiences. So I think that covers all the major elements. You've got learning experiences, you've got the shared drive, then you have all the other documents. You've got the journey log, which is the Excel sheet, has all the information that you need in one area. Then you've got the workflow. This is all the work you're responsible for. You do it in sequence. Um, and then you have the master assessment rubric, which is both in the journey log and which I showed you independently. So I know that's a ton. Let it just sort of soak in, and you're going to get multiple exposures to this, uh, and that'll help. I think as you do this more and more, you just become more and more proficient. You're going to move from a one to a two to a three, to eventually you'll understand the process really well.
okay.
Okay. Anything
Okay.
else that you feel like you need to talk about in terms of the program or where we're at with the learning community or specific things coming up for next Monday?
Um,